In a world with photorealistic graphics. It's so beautiful. Infinite galaxies to explore. Wow, it's so big. Fantastical worlds to roam around in. It's so difficult. Also, is that I think that's is that a character? Hey Ramona, is that? But that's not fair. The Switch is still an amazing device with a vast library of original content worth playing. However, the question remains. In a world where we have PS5, Xbox X, Steam Deck, but more importantly, with a potential Nintendo Switch 2 right around the corner, should you buy a Nintendo Switch in 2023? Turns out this question is a lot more complicated to answer than I thought it would be. And yes, this whiteboard saw a lot of action before I figured it out. Let's break it down. On number one, we've got the games, both existing and upcoming games. On number two, we've got the console experience, which means things like power, mobility, multiplayer, docking, stuff like that. And on number three, we have miscellaneous, which is pricing, different model sizes, cartridges, things like that. So, admittedly, before I started this video, I hadn't touched my Nintendo Switch in months. I'm sorry, baby. Because the Steam Deck is so freaking amazing. We don't need to Switch anymore. Or so I thought. But then I started doing some research for this video. I have to admit, there are a lot of cool games coming out, and most of them pretty big first-party Nintendo IP. Mario Wonder, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Princess Peach, which looks pretty good I have to say, Luigi's Mansion 2, and the list goes on and on. And on top of that, there's of course the massive library of games that already exists. I thought that would work. It always does for Nintendo. And I haven't even talked about third-party support yet. There are awesome ports and exclusives to be had. Think about the impossible ports. Games like The Switcher or Doom Eternal. Games nobody thought could run on the Switch. Although over the years, support has waned a little bit, because however much we love the Switch, let's face it, the current Switch just isn't powerful enough to play most current gen games. So there is that. If you want to play the Call of Duties, Elden Rings or Alan Wakes of the world, and I'm not talking about this monstrosity, you're gonna need to be looking for a different console. For raw power, you're knocking on the wrong door. Well, let's be honest. If you're looking into a Nintendo console, it's most likely for the Nintendo experience. You get that in spades.
Dad, where's my Switch?
Let's talk console experience. And this is that. Although, it needs a pretty decent sized pocket. Hiding behind the car to get some gaming in, that's the Switch experience. Show me any other console that can do this. And don't tell me the Steam Deck, because you don't have pockets big enough.
What are you doing, Dad?
Nothing, just cleaning the car. Aside from ducking out of family gatherings, it's actually great for multiplayer too. I know other consoles have multiplayer too, but they're not Nintendo. And Nintendo just brings that good old Nintendo vibe. Take Mario Party, Mario Kart, Super Smash, and loads of others. All amazing multiplayer games. Looking for couch multiplayer? Nintendo is still king. And as you probably know, there's the dock. And compared to the Steam Deck, the Switch's plug-and-play dock is much faster and easier to use. The Switch outputs to the TV at 1080p, and the Switch's screen is 720p. While the Steam Deck resolution is slightly higher at 1280 by 800, the Switch OLED screen is so much more vibrant. And for those of you lucky with an ROG Ally, I know your screen is awesome, but we're talking about the Switch here. Also important, speaking of the ROG Ally, is the plug-and-play nature of the Nintendo Switch. Yes, you can play much more demanding games on the Steam Deck and Ally, but will they run? Not always guaranteed. But if you get a game on the Switch, it'll run. Although granted, not always in the intended state. My point is, the Switch is plug and play, super simple. Okay, so depending on what you're looking for, the Switch is holding its own. Nintendo experience, multiplayer, plug and play, not so much performance and raw power. However, there's one thing it really kicks butt in. Who said that? No, not being lame, battery power. I was gonna say battery power. Well, you consistently get 45 minutes to an hour of battery life on the Steam Deck, and watching you Cyberpunk, the Switch gets a minimum of 2 hours, even with its more demanding games. If you're looking for longevity, the Switch beats the other handhelds handily. Did you hear that? I did a little pun there. And before we move on, there is the Joy-Cons. The Switch, for its age, is still the most versatile of them all. No TV handy, pop off these little guys, and you can play multiplayer with one Joy-Con each. I mean, that's awesome, right? It's not super comfortable, but in a pinch it's nice. And now, the miscellaneous lightning round. Pricing. Switch OLED, base model, and Switch Lite. And no, the Switch Pro doesn't exist. The models are $350, $300, and $200 respectively. Compared to the other consoles out there, the Switch is the cheapest. But the OLED is really only $50 below the Steam Deck base model. And given the age of the system, I feel like you're not getting as much bang for your buck as you ought to. But then again, you're kind of paying for that Nintendo brand. Nintendo Switch Online. I had this for a little bit. There's two tiers, Nintendo Switch Online and Nintendo Switch Online Expansion. A very creative name. $20 and $50 per year, respectively. So it's pretty decently priced. You need the base tier for online play, and both of them come with cool stuff like NES, SNES, and Game Boy Classic games that you can play for free. If you get the expansion, you can also play Game Boy Advanced and Nintendo 64 games. You also get some cool expansions for games like Mario Kart and Animal Crossing. Lastly, and what I think is coolest, the 99 series games that Nintendo has been releasing. Currently they're doing F-Zero 99, which is a battle royale game based on the SNES F-Zero racing games, where you race against 98 other players. Really cool. If you thought the Steam Deck had a lot of accessories, you haven't seen nothing yet. The Switch has some of the craziest accessories. Just to give a couple of quick shoutouts. The external controller, either from Nintendo or from third party. The 5-controller charger. Super handy. The best grip / protector for the Switch. Also, the Switch is kind of small if you have large hands, and this Satisfy gaming grip makes it a lot better. And I'm not sponsored, by the way. And last quick shout out, mini cases for the gaming cartridges that you collect. These are indispensable for any kind of collector. Speaking of cartridges, for those of you who are collectors out there, I think I'm somewhat of a collector myself. You can get physical cartridges of many of the games. Although it has to be said that many of them come with mandatory downloads to even play the games. It's always a real bummer to see that download banner on the box art. And from a game preservation perspective, it also completely defeats the purpose. But Nintendo's games are always completely on the cartridge. And lastly, there's the kids factor. The Switch is probably the most user-friendly console for kids, from its games to the user interface and form factor. Plus it feels a little more robust than the somewhat flimsy feeling OLED with its Joy-Cons on the side. And of course there's the games. Nintendo has by far the most child-friendly games. So, the question, is the Steam Deck worth getting in 2023? For a long time, the Switch was my absolute favorite console. I couldn't believe you could have this amazing console experience on the go. Then just go home, dock it, and play it all on your TV. It was amazing, I loved it. Especially in 2017 when it was the only one of its kind, no other handhelds around. Then, as I mentioned, I got my Steam Deck and I kind of fell off from the Switch. But in doing this video, I've really kind of fallen back in love with the Switch. I still love you too, honey. In the year or so that I've fallen off, I've missed so many great games. Not just Zelda, but Bayonetta 3, the new Fire Emblem, the new Mario and Rabbids, the list goes on and on. In my opinion, the Switch is still worth getting in 2023. The library of games is already amazing, and there are so many more games coming in 2023 and 2024. And yes, there are rumors of the Nintendo Switch 2, but there are always rumors, and from what I've heard, the Nintendo Switch 2 isn't coming till 2025 at the earliest. Also, there's other consoles and handhelds, but for the price point, especially if you get the Lite, you can't go wrong. And of course, there's the kids factor. If you have kids and you want kids games, Nintendo is really the only way to go. What do you guys think? Is it worth buying a Nintendo Switch in 2023? Let me know in the comments. And that's about it. If you enjoyed this video, as always, I'd appreciate it if you like and subscribe. And if you're looking for amazing indie games, check out this video. And that's it. I hope to see you in the next one.